Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking this completely fascinating and honestly deeply moving Bengali fable called Meet Pulao in a Broken Home. It's a classic, right? It weaves together these intense themes of sudden, unexplained wealth, familial duty, and a moral conflict that's absolutely going to have you on the edge of your seat. We'll break down the narrative structure, look at the psychological unraveling of the characters, and figure out the ultimate cost of compromising your values. It's just a brilliant piece of storytelling, so let's get right into it.
I ate meat pulao in my broken home with the money of a legal sin. I mean, wow. Just listen to the sheer tragic weight of those words. This quote comes from Mahendra, the completely heartbroken father at the center of our story, and it serves as our dramatic cold open. It's this devastating realization of guilt and betrayal. But, to truly understand the emotional core here, and why a dish as simple as meat pulao becomes this heavy symbol of ultimate shame, we really need to jump back in time and see exactly how we got here.
Okay, let's dive into Act 1, the setup. We're looking at poverty and the illusion of wealth.
Now, every great fable sets up a baseline reality, right? And here, the story hits us with this incredibly jarring contrast. On one hand, you have Mahendra's reality, which is just pure desperation. He's literally begging the local grocer for basic staples, rice and dal, just on credit, all while living in this crumbling, broken-down home. He represents honest but really desperate poverty. But then, in completely stark contrast, his son Bikram, who's been away in the city for years, suddenly returns, and he doesn't just walk back into town. He rolls up in a massive car. He's flaunting wads of cash, immediately silencing his dad's debts. And almost right away, Bikram starts arrogantly complaining about the village dust and the heat, acting totally disconnected from his roots. The thematic contrast is wild. It sets off immediate alarm bells for us as the audience. We've got this desperate, humble poverty clashing directly with really suspicious, arrogant, and extremely loud wealth.
Which brings us to Act 2, the climax, the lavish feast and rising suspension.
So, Bikram's grand gestures aren't just for his family. He wants the whole village to know he's arrived. But these flexes quickly stir up some major gossip. 15 to 20. Now, what's really shocking about this number is the sheer, crazy scale it represents. Bikram goes to the local butcher and demands 15 to 20 kilograms of fresh meat. He announces he's throwing a massive feast, cooking meat pulao for the entire village. I mean, think about it. In a community where a guy like his dad couldn't even afford a single piece of meat from that exact same butcher, buying 20 kilos of premium meat is a shocking, almost unbelievable extravagance. It's a display of wealth so massive that it stops being impressive and just starts becoming highly concerning.
Which leads us directly to the question on literally everyone's mind. Where did this money come from? The local grocer, who had just mocked Mahendra for his poverty, is suddenly handed a fortune to clear debts. The villagers are sitting there eating rich meat pulao out of a visibly broken, crumbling home. The dramatic irony is just so thick here. Everyone's eating the food, sure, but the whispers are definitely starting. Bikram claims he has this great city job, but the math simply isn't adding up for the villagers.
And honestly, their suspicions are completely validated by Bikram's own actions. I mean, first, he's flaunting large sums of cash to quickly silence any questions about his dad's debt. He's constantly complaining about the climate, acting superior to kind of distance himself from the locals. But then, the real psychological thriller elements kick in. Bikram starts locking himself inside the house at night, claiming he has this sudden fear of village ghosts. When a storm rolls in, he absolutely refuses to step outside into the dark to fetch the jute stalks, the patori, to save them from the rain. He is completely terrified of the dark. This brilliantly foreshadows that Bikram isn't afraid of ghosts at all. Actually, scratch that, he's experiencing intense paranoia. He's hiding from something or someone very real and very dangerous.
And that tension leads us right into Act 3, the resolution. Subtitle here, The Harsh Truth and the Moral Stand.
Turns out that paranoia was totally justified. The tension finally snaps the very next morning when a group of city strangers track Bikram down right to the doorway of his father's broken home. Let's walk through this rapid, tense downfall because it happens incredibly fast. Early morning, these men arrive at the house. By mid-morning, they are face-to-face with Bikram and they drop the bomb. Bikram didn't earn this money, he was involved in illegal activities, he stole their money, and he fled to the village to hide out. Just minutes later, his father, Mahendra, steps in. But he doesn't defend his son blindly. Instead, he demands the absolute truth, forcing Bikram to swear on his father's own life. Moments later, under the massive weight of that oath, Bikram breaks down and confesses everything. And then, immediately after hearing the confession, Mahendra makes a devastating choice. He disowns his son on the spot and surrenders him directly to the men to be taken to the authorities. Bikram's entire house of cards literally collapses in a matter of hours.
So we arrive at the epilogue, the price of dishonesty, choosing integrity over comfort.
This is where we really see the true thematic weight of the fable. Mahindra has lived his entire life in grinding poverty, and for one brief shining afternoon, he thought his family had finally escaped it. But when faced with the truth, he chooses integrity over comfort. Let's look at how he processes this betrayal. He follows a really strict moral sequence. Step 1. He completely rejects the illegal wealth and the corrupt son who brought it into his home. Step 2. He actively accepts his broken home and his honest poverty. He realizes that poverty with a clear conscience is far superior to wealth built on a lie. And step 3, he upholds his personal and familiar honor by turning his own flesh and blood over to face justice. It's an incredibly difficult, agonizing sequence of choices for a parent to make, but it's deeply righteous. This is exactly why the story matters as a moral lesson. It shows us that true character is forged right in the fire of temptation.
And that realization brings us to this incredibly powerful concluding thought from Mahendra. He says, "If I ever can, I will earn honest money and eat meat palau in this broken home." He completely reclaims his dignity here. The meat palau, which had just become this ugly symbol of his son's corruption and deceit, is transformed back into a symbol of an honest, aspirational goal. He isn't rejecting the idea of a good life or a good meal, He's explicitly rejecting the shortcut to get there.
So I want to leave you with this thought to chew on. In a world that is absolutely obsessed with the appearance of wealth and success, what is the true cost of eating meat palau in a broken home? How much of our own integrity are we actually willing to trade for comfort? It's a question that resonates way beyond this village setting. Oh, and before we wrap up this explainer, just to see who is paying super close attention to the details earlier, do you remember exactly how many kilos of meat Bikram bought for that ill-fated feast? Keep that number in mind. Thank you so much for joining me today as we explored this captivating fable. Keep analyzing, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next